Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast for November 9th, 2023. My name is Mark Hillary and I'm in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
And I'm Peter Ryan in Montreal. Mark, great to talk to you. And I hope that the weather in Sao Paulo is infinitely nicer than we're facing in the northeast of Canada right now.
I should hope so. You know, we're heading into summer now. And, obviously down here, Christmas time is when you go to the beach. So it's pretty much the complete opposite of Canada, I should think.
Yeah, anybody who goes to the beach right now is a member of the Polar Bear Club. And that is an organization of which I am not a member, nor do I have any aspirations to be.
Okay, well, let's talk about the subject this week. We're talking with Chris Hague, who's the head of marketing at Yoummday. Now, Chris is based in Prague in the Czech Republic. Yoummday is a company based in Germany, and both of us know them quite well. They've kind of come along in this sort of wake of flexible GigCX providers. And we've talked about GigCX a few times on the podcast over the last couple of years. So I called up Chris because I saw an article that he wrote, which was about the end of BPO. And I think that he called it BPO is dead, long live BPO. And what he was talking about was the end of the sort of physical contact center and agents working the sort of traditional 8-hour shifts in the contact center. So he was basically arguing that the entire sort of CX environment is moving over to a much more flexible kind of environment. And I guess this is probably something you've also seen.
I've definitely seen it. I would not necessarily go so far as to say that BPO was dead. Look, Mark, the reality is that, I think there's a lot of pressure from the agent side to work more flexible hours, to do more remote work. There's also a lot of pressure from the perspective of clients, and we're hearing this quite a lot, where they're saying to their BPO partners, we want our agents back on site. We want them to be working in a physical center. I think that we're going to be looking towards a balance. I think that the concept of BPO being dead in the traditional sense is not necessarily the case. But what I do think is there's going to be a rebalancing. Look, at the end of the day, you've got two opposing forces. You've got what the enterprise clients are looking for, and you've got what labor is looking for. And at a certain point, there's going to be an equilibrium. They're going to have to meet. So certainly a very big shift compared to what, say, you and I were used to when we first got into this game 20 years ago. But at the same time, I do think that there's going to be still very much an element of on-site delivery that's going to be done in the traditional sense, alongside a more gig-driven, a more remote-driven model.
Yeah, and we'll just have to see, where we hit that kind of equilibrium.
Exactly.
I know Yoummday are very keen to sort of move away from the GigCX title. They very much sort of see themselves as flexible CX. They are freelancers, so they're not actually like formal employees, but the agents are receiving training, ongoing training. There's none of this kind of agent has to pay for their own training course and this kind of thing that we have seen with some sort of gig platforms. So I think that, what they're trying to do is sort of raise the reputation of the kind of gig CX environment and actually show that you can have well-trained agents, but in a very flexible environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I always look forward to hearing what Yoummday has to say. I've gotten to know the company, as you mentioned, as you have as well, quite well over the course of the past several months, going back into when the acquisition of Icon Communications happened last year. And in my opinion, they truly are disruptors. So why don't we find out what Chris has to say in his discussion with you, and we will move forward with the interview.
Great. Let's go for it. Chris, it's great to get you on the CX Files finally. I know that you've commented on several episodes in the past, and of course, listeners will know that your name features at the end usually because you helped us out with the graphics. Now, I wanted to ask you on because I saw you post an article headlined "BPO is dead, long live the reinvention of BPO." Now, I guess what you're meaning from this is that BPO, as we knew it before the pandemic, is long gone. But what's now taken its place? I mean, what is the new normal for BPO?
Hi, Mark. Thank you very much for having me on. I've been a long time listener and supporter of the CX file, so I'm really thrilled to be here. I do think that the traditional BPO is slowly dying, and that's because I think there is a much better way to BPO. I think that a combination of great technology and great people can lead to a better BPO experience. And I guess this comes around specifically if we look at the problems that BPOs are currently having attracting great call center agents. Now, most BPOs can only hire from their local area. I think that there will be a shift, especially since the pandemic with the rise of remote work, that BPOs now need to look at how they can harness a global workforce. And I think this is only going to benefit their clients, because if you can access a global workforce, or if your BPO can access a global workforce, not only is it better for 24/7 service supply for clients, not only do you have more qualified and skilled agents to choose from, I think there is an advantageous price point that BPOs can potentially offer their clients as well.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because you talked there about technology changing the options available, and also just the model of hiring the talent itself. Because it goes back to two of the biggest trends this year, I think we've seen, have been the growth in the use of AI. So AI allowing for a much greater sense of automation, a lot more automation in the customer journey. And also these mergers, we've seen 6 of the biggest BPOs become 3. And clearly they're just sort of exploring scale as the answer for their ongoing business. So what have you seen in regards of some of these new technologies that are arriving, or what have you seen the analysts saying about this?
So, Mark, let me pick up the AI topic first, and let's make this the last time anyone ever has to listen to the same rhetoric about AI and CX. Yes, AI will do the simple stuff. We are going to need really great human beings to do the complex stuff, the stuff that needs empathy, the stuff that needs real problem solving. This is exactly where it's going to go. I think we're all sick of hearing this, so let's make this the last time everyone has to listen to it. So that's where we're going to go with AI. And I think we all know this. It's been said till we're all red in the face. I think till we're all blue in the face. I think these mergers are quite interesting. And I think, yes, it's definitely about market share for the mergers. I think there is an element of, well, they did it, so we did it. If we take the case of Sykes and Sitel first, and then I really think there was almost a knee-jerk reaction for these other big outsourcing organizations to merge, to ensure that they kept their market share and they could compete against this new behemoth. I think that's one element. I think the most important thing, though, are the clients of these new giant outsourcing companies, are they going to get the same level of care that they did previously? Are they going to get the same level of attention? Because all of a sudden, once these companies have merged, I really think there's going to be a different allocation of resources for their clients. And I think that's probably the most important thing to those companies that used BPO suppliers.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting because I saw an analogy you used in the article about Kodak, and most people think that Kodak was killed when Instagram came along. But, the reality was that they saw digital photography coming. They invested a lot of money in it. But there was like a fundamental failure in their imagination because they always thought that people would want to print photos. And so they built social networks for photographs, but assumed that the purpose of the social network would be to select the photo you want printed. And so, it was like they almost had it, but they just couldn't see how the world was changing. And do you think that something similar is happening with CX today then?
Yeah, I do, because I think that customers have a much higher expectation. They just don't want their call answered by anyone. They want it answered by someone. They want it answered by someone that has the right knowledge, the right communication skills, and I guess that are empowered to make the decisions to solve their issue first time. So I think this is one of the big changes. There's a far higher expectation from customers on their CX suppliers. And talking about this example of Kodak that I gave in the article, I think there are big changes coming to the world of work, Mark. And I think this is, definitely what Yoummday is looking at. Yoummday is obviously a different way to outsource. We're a combination of great technology and a global talent pool of entrepreneurs that are all CX experts in their own right with their own experience. And if I look at what's happening to the world of work generally, there's a shortage of skilled labor all around the world. We know that there's a lot of companies everywhere that are struggling to hire agents. We know that there's an aging workforce, so there's going to be definitely a challenge for productivity in terms of the agents available to all these call centers. I think there's also going to be competition for agents as well. The other big thing, and this is a generational piece as well, that as we have Gen Z and millennials entering the workforce, they have much greater expectations for what they expect. And if they go into a traditional call center environment, they won't stay long. They really want a workplace that is purposeful, gives them a strong work-life balance, and gives them great flexibility. Now, if you're going to attract the right people to your call center or to your outsourcer, you need to really address these three things, because otherwise you're not going to attract great people and they're not going to stay very long.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting point. You're talking about the world of work itself changing within CX and beyond CX as well. I've written a lot about GigCX and how that allows hiring from anywhere, agents working at home, agents choosing their own hours, and it sounds very much like the Yoummday model that you're talking about, a tech platform that connects the customer with the agents. So, I mean, are you, would you classify yourself as GigCX, or, and if not, then how does your organization differ from that then?
So, Mark, I think that Yoummday is really better than Gig, and I think there's quite a few things that make us a lot different to GigCX. And it's easy to lump us into that because we are a new way to outsource that does use a freelancer model. And I totally understand that. For me, GigCX is more like the platforms that offer, one-off projects to freelancers on a short-term basis. Whereas, Yoummday, we have currently over 11,000 CX professionals, all vetted and verified. We invest in training for our CX workforce, and this doesn't happen in a traditional GigCX model. We have strict quality control measures. We have really long-term partnerships. We have Fortune 500 and DAX companies within our client portfolio list, and we've had them for many, many years. And this isn't synonymous with a GigCX relationship. One of the big things that we do at Yoummday is we ensure that the talents, as we call them, we don't refer to them as agents at Yoummday, we ensure that there is a strong cultural fit and brand alignment. So we actually survey our talents before they can go into a project to make sure that they're going to be great brand ambassadors. And this is something that I don't think traditional outsourcers do. And I don't think it's something that GigCX does as well. And then beyond that, there's, we do all the things that a traditional outsourcer would do. We have dedicated account managers and operations teams responsible for SLAs and KPIs. Our talents handle very complex interactions. For me, the gig workers are usually a lot more simple with their interactions. So I think there's a lot of different things that make us better than Gig.
Yeah, I saw an article recently that was talking about the experience of work from home over the past few years, since COVID, essentially. And it was saying that we've moved on from it just being about location. It's not just moving the agents from a call center to the home. It's about the location, flexibility, being able to choose hours and slices of time, plus also being interested in the brands that you're supporting. So like you're saying about finding experts in particular areas. So, if you're finding people that can work from home, they've got flexibility, they actually enjoy the companies that they're working with, then you're going to be addressing a lot of the stuff we see in contact centers to do with attrition and difficulty onboarding. If people really don't they really don't care about the brand that they're supporting, they're just there to get a paycheck.
And you've hit the nail on the head, Mark, to be honest. I mean, if you look at a traditional call center environment, if you have an FTE and they're not particularly interested in the work they're doing, they know they're going to get paid anyway, that motivation can be quite low. If there's no calls coming in, they're quite happy. But with Yoummday, we have a pay for performance model. So our talents, they want to work. They're self-employed entrepreneurs. They want calls. They want more tickets. They want to do the best they can because they're being measured on this. And they know that, if they perform well, then they will get the pick of the best schedules first, for example, as just one of the benefits, as well as, additional incentives that can be offered. So I think you're exactly right. What we're trying to do at Yoummday is address all those elements to deliver our clients' customers a much happier customer experience from a much happier talent. And it's those things you said. It's about work-life balance, flexibility, being able to choose the company they represent, being able to choose where they work from. And what I love about this whole shift in outsourcing model is that the traditional call center really hasn't had much innovation. It took a global pandemic before they would start to let, agents work from home. And I think, Yoummday was founded in 2016 and was just positioned at the right time for a lot of companies to go, there is, a different way to outsource. And then they very quickly saw the benefits of access to a global talent pool. And if I want to just add one other piece to that, and this might seem really altruistic and self-aggrandizing from the Yoummday perspective, but Yoummday was founded to revolutionize the world of work and bring meaningful work to people on a global scale. So this is what we have at our core as a business, and everything flows from that. And I think this is something that as a company we talk about, we're very proud of. But I think if you look at what Yoummday can potentially do in connecting big brands from all over the world with great CX workers all over the world, we're helping to be part of this revolution in the world of work.
Yeah, I think it was interesting that you mentioned the FTE model there as well, because most of our listeners are probably aware that it's very common to have a blended price per person for contact center work. So the BPO will charge, a fixed amount. It'll be, if you've got 200 people working in the contact center, the charge is 200 times that agreed amount. It may be connected to success in more complex contracts, but quite often it's not. It's just that is the charge, regardless of how the customers are being served. So do you think that, what you're talking about is essentially revolutionizing that, paying the people for success, paying them each time they help a customer, making sure that the people that are working for particular brands are actually interested in that brand, so they want to help out.
100%. I think our model is a real motivator for CX professionals, working in customer care or sales, for example. What Yoummday also sets out to do is, because we have done away with the bricks and mortar call center, and we are using self-employed freelancers and technology as the basis for this fundamental shift in outsourcing. Our clients pay less and we pay our talents more. And this is something that as a company, we're really struggling with, because this almost sounds too good to be true. How can our clients pay less? We pay the talents more. They get better CX services because the talents are happier, because they have more choice and flexibility. This win-win-win happens so rarely in life that it can often be a bit of a challenge to try and pitch this to new business. But we're working with, I guess, a new way of thinking about how we solve this outsourcing. This is, I guess, the challenge you have when you're trying to disrupt a whole industry.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about the future for BPO, but I guess you've answered a lot of it there. So I guess what you're really saying is that this model of asking agents to commute and sit there doing an 8-hour shift, whether they're busy or not, it just feels extremely dated. And what you're proposing with a distributed work model of people who actually like representing these brands fixes a lot of the traditional problems around attrition and seeing it as a dead-end job. Like many of the stereotypes of the contact center job, it doesn't make it an aspirational job. And so that's in contrast to someone who's perhaps a League of Legends expert, loves gaming, and then finds that there's an opportunity to help their favorite gaming company doing customer support. You can imagine the motivation would be completely different there.
100%. This guy's going to be very happy to take calls and talk about his favorite topic all day. It'd be like, for me, if there was a company that wants someone to talk about the original Star Wars trilogy 8 hours a day, I'm your guy. No problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
And, I do think this is where the future is heading, and it has to change, because I think people have more expectations, and rightly so. The world of work has changed. We have the technology to be able to facilitate this and give people a much more positive experience in their CX working life. What was interesting at our Unite CX function we had it in Munich a few weeks ago, Mark, was when we had our Yoummday talents on stage, they really created a lot of buzz, because we had the audience was able to ask some questions. And out of the 3 talents we had there, one of them used to be a chocolatier. He used to be also the British Airways airline steward. Now he owns his own Airbnb in France, and he also works at Yoummday as well. We have another gentleman who's in South America. He's a shipbuilder. In between, he works for Yoummday. We had another gentleman who used to have his own business where he employed 30 people. When the pandemic came, unfortunately, he lost his business, but he since started working for Yoummday and loves it so much that when his father-in-law asked him to go and work for him, he refused. So that makes for Sunday dinner a bit difficult at their house. But there's such a varied background that we have amongst our talent community. And I think that they can all bring this experience to their CX life, and I think this is, also what's can often be missing is this life experience that people can bring to a CX role. So they know how to communicate with people. They've been in similar situations before. And this relatability is key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, don't you think then that what you're also doing is tapping into slices of the labor pool that were never able to be accessed before? If you're expecting people to commute, to dedicate 8 hours a day to a job, then suddenly, anyone who's got any caring responsibilities or kids, or if you've just retired and you only want to work 10 hours a week, then all of these people are kind of excluded from traditional CX.
100%. And you've nailed it. It's completely barrier free. As long as you have an internet connection and a laptop, then you can essentially work as a Yoummday talent. And if you want to work 10 hours a week, that's fine. If you want to work 30 hours a week, that's fine. I think this is probably one of the most inspirational parts of the Yoummday idea, is that it gives everyone access to the world of work that may not have had it before. And especially if, we know that times are tough for a lot of people all around the world. But if you've retired, but you have some time and you'd like to earn some money and you have some, the right skills, then you can be really successful at Yoummday. And I think that this is one of the really wonderful things that technology is able to facilitate when it comes to the world of work.
Do you find then, because you said that the talents that are getting paid for helping each customer can generally or almost always earn more than they would if they were getting paid an hourly wage in a contact center? I mean, do you find then that they work a full-time week and earn more money, or do they just kind of enjoy the flexibility and reduce their working hours because they're already earning enough?
Now, this is a really good question. And when I first started with Yoummday, I was surprised. So do you want to have a guess? So let me preface it by saying our motto is internally is, work from. Let me preface it by saying at Yoummday, we talk about work from home, double your income. And this is how we approach our pricing to make sure it works for attracting great talents. And also it's very transparent to our clients as well. So in saying that, Mark, do you think the general talent community would work 40 hours and earn double, or work half as much and earn what they usually would in a traditional call center?
Yeah, well, I mean, given that everybody's worried about the cost of living, I would assume everybody wants more cash. But at the same time, people are also saying they want more flexibility in their life. So I guess it could be a mix.
It is. Our talents work on average 25 hours a week. So some of them work a lot more, some of them work less, but it averages out to 25 hours a week. And I was quite surprised. I thought that most people would lean towards that 40-hour mark and earn double. But the great thing about this 25 hours per week is this gives the Yoummday model incredible flex. So if a client wants to scale up really rapidly, most of the talents on a project would have capacity to do an extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week. So a simple push notification can activate talents already trained on a project, and our projects can be scaled up in a matter of hours. And this flexibility, personally, I think is a game changer, having been working in a traditional call center environment and knowing if you want to scale up a project there, it can take, well, if you have to hire agents, it can take weeks. If you've maybe got some that you can parachute in, they would still need to be trained, etc., and that would take days, if not longer. But with Yoummday, because of this flex that most talents work about 25 hours a week, all it takes is a push notification, and you can increase the capacity on a project by, depending on number of talents trained, but by up to 100% in a matter of hours. And we did that with one of our airline clients in Christmas last year. Mm-hmm. So this 25 hours is a bit of a game changer, I think, for companies that need flexibility, especially when it comes to seasonality or utilities companies with outages, for example. This can be a real help.
Yeah. No, I think that's interesting that if people can earn what they were earning in their previous job, but do 15 hours a week less, then would they? Because you're essentially talking about like 2 days of extra time, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we know that, especially as I mentioned at the start, from Gen Z and millennials, this work-life balance is key. They want to work when they want and from where they want.
Yeah. Okay, and I mean, just to wrap up, then, what's coming up for you guys? We're already kind of coasting into the final quarter of the year. What are you looking forward to for 2024 then?
For 2024 at Yoummday, about expanding our global footprint. So for us, it's really about brand. We know we've got a good story. We know we have a disruptive way to outsource that works, for clients, their customers, and for the talents. For us, it's about telling more people about our story, getting our brand out there, but also increasing the footprint. The company has been extremely successful in the DACH region since 2016. We already have clients in the UK. We now have our first clients in the US. And for us, it's about expanding that footprint. And at its core is really getting more people to test Yoummday. It's very easy for companies to test Yoummday. It's really no risk. And to benchmark the way we outsource compared to a traditional call center, we can have you up and running in a matter of hours. The recruitment time is nil because we have the talents on the platform already. So that's what it is for us. It's expanding the footprint and getting more brands to really benchmark and test us so we can show them why we're a different way and, as we think, a better way to BPO.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I guess where you say there that you can get people up and running immediately, you mean that if a new client comes along and is thinking of using the service, then you can find agents that are already trained on a very similar kind of company. Then, like, I mean, one food delivery app is very similar to another one, I guess.
Yes. So basically, what happens is clients post their projects on Yoummday, and then either Yoummday operations or they can do a search of the talent pool. They can put in location, language skills, the level that they speak a language at, their experiences, etc. So they can really do a search for exactly the types of people they want, and they can start interviewing them, within a matter of hours. We had one client sign a contract on a Friday. They're up and running by Monday morning because they could search the talent pool. And they could start sending messages and interviewing the talents that they wanted on their project. Mm-hmm. It's really fast. We have people ready to work. There's no recruitment time, no recruitment cost. Using the platform is completely free for all of our clients. So,
okay, all right, that's excellent. Great to look ahead, and great to have a chat. Let's catch up again soon.
Mark, thank you very much for the time this afternoon, and let's see what happens to the world of work in the next 5 years.
Definitely, yeah, it's all changing. Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favourite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Hague at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week. Agents needing to go to a physical centre